At first glance, it's just a forgotten birthday photo from 1985. Smiling faces, balloons, cake, nothing out of the ordinary. But look again. Who is the man in the background, the one no one remembers inviting? Why does he appear in other families, photos, across decades, across cities? And why does he always look straight into the camera, as if he's looking at you? Some pictures capture memories, others capture something else. If you want to follow real stories that defy time and reveal hidden truths, subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our investigations. It began with an old cardboard box pulled from the back of a dusty closet, an unassuming relic from a house that had seen generations come and go. Inside, a stack of faded Polaroids, birthday cards, cassette tapes with handwritten labels. Among them, a photograph dated August 17th, 1985. Written on the back in blue ink, Anna's 7th birthday. The image was typical of the time. A backyard in late afternoon sunlight, pastel streamers fluttering from a clothesline, a rectangular cake with thick icing, and children in colorful party hats. The adults stood behind them, holding plastic cups mid-laughter or mid-blink, their expressions frozen in time by the instant snap of the camera. The air seemed heavy with nostalgia, capturing the warmth of family gatherings, the simplicity of a childhood celebration, and the hazy glow of summer. It was Anna herself, now in her mid-40s, who found the photograph while helping her mother move. She snapped a quick picture of it with her phone and uploaded it to a Facebook group dedicated to nostalgic memories of the 1980s. The caption was innocent enough. "Can't believe it's been 40 years. I'm the one in the yellow dress." The post gathered likes and comments from strangers who found comfort in the visual language of their youth. "Love the cake. Those hats were everywhere. Reminds me of my cousin's party." But amidst the friendly chatter, one comment stood out. "Who's the man in the back left corner?" Anna read it once, twice, and then looked closer. She hadn't noticed him before. There, standing partially in the shadows near the back hedge, was a tall man in a brownish-grey suit. While everyone else seemed candid, mid-conversation, smiling, distracted, the man was perfectly still, facing the camera head-on. His posture was stiff, and his arms hung unnaturally straight at his sides. His face, though slightly blurred, showed an expression that immediately struck Anna as wrong. Not frightening exactly, just misplaced. Like a painting hung upside down. She stared at the screen, feeling a strange tightness in her chest. Who was he? Her mother, sitting beside her, squinted at the phone. I don't know who that is. He doesn't look familiar." They passed the phone back and forth. No one recognized the man, not Anna, not her mother, not her uncle, who was also in the picture. No one could even remember there being anyone dressed like that at the party. The guests were close family and neighbors. No one would have shown up in a formal suit, especially not in the middle of August in that heat. Anna zoomed in. The man's features became grainier, less distinct, but what she saw made her pause. He wasn't smiling. His lips were parted slightly, almost as if mid-breath. His eyes, large, dark, and too wide for the rest of his face, seemed to be staring directly at her, not at the camera. At her shone across decades, through the screen. A coldness settled over her, irrational but insistent. She quickly put the phone down. "I don't like that guy," her mother muttered, almost to herself. It was the kind of sentence people say without thinking, but Anna felt it echo. Not because the man looked menacing, he didn't. He looked present in a way that felt intentional, deliberate, like he had known the photograph would last longer than the moment. Later that night, Anna opened the image again, determined to rationalize what she'd seen. It was just some neighbor, someone's +1, a guest she had simply forgotten. But the more she looked, the less sense it made. No one else in the photo was near him. He stood apart. The light didn't fall on him the same way it did on the others. Even the grass at his feet looked darker, less sunlit, and his gaze never wavered. By morning, Anna had privately messaged the Facebook commenter who had noticed the man. The reply came quickly. "I've seen that face before," it read. "Not in this photo, in another one. Different family, different year." That's when Anna realized this might not be about her birthday at all. This was about him, whoever or whatever he was, and it had only just begun. In the days that followed the strange discovery, Anna found herself unable to think about anything else. The image haunted her, not just the man's presence, but the fact that no one remembered inviting him, not a single person. She called her uncle again, then her cousin who had flown in from Porto Alegre for that summer in 1985. Both remembered the party, neither remembered the man. Anna printed the photo, thinking that maybe viewing it outside a screen would give it a different effect. But in her hands, the physical image seemed even more disturbing. There was something wrong with the man's proportions. His torso slightly elongated, his arms too narrow. His face lacked detail, but not in the way time normally fades a photo. It was as if the man had never been in proper focus to begin with, as if he had been standing just outside reality. Her inbox pinged. The stranger who had commented on her post sent her a new message. This time, it contained an image attachment and a short message. Look closely. Bottom right. It was a scan of another photograph dated 1979, another birthday. This time in Sorocaba, nearly 130 kilometers away. Different family, different setting. A group of kids around a clown holding balloons. But there, barely noticeable in the corner of the frame, was the same man, same height, same unsettling stillness, different clothes, but the same gaze, locked onto the camera, unflinching. Anna leaned in. It couldn't be. This had to be a prank. Someone digitally inserted him into both photos. That would explain it. Except when she asked the sender for the original image, they provided a scan of the back as well. The photo was clearly decades old, creased, stained, with handwriting in ballpoint pen that had faded into a ghostly grey. It belonged to a woman named Teresa, who claimed she found the photo among her late father's belongings. He had been a local photographer in the late 70s. Teresa had no connection to Anna. Their families had never met. Anna called her friend Lucas, a journalist who occasionally dabbled in online mysteries and folklore. She explained the situation. He asked her to send both photos and promised to look into it. 2 days later, Lucas called back. "I don't want to alarm you," he said, his voice unusually flat, "but I ran the image through some reverse searches and found something." "What kind of something?" Anna asked. "There's a photo from 1993, some town in Paraná. Another party. Same guy. Not the same clothes, but the same face, always standing alone, always watching." He paused, then added, "There's more." Anna waited. "He's in photos dating back to the 1950s. One at a wedding, one at a school graduation. All different families, different regions. He never looks older, never younger. Always. Exactly the same." Anna felt her breath catch. "But how?" she started. Lucas cut her off. "I thought it was a hoax, but I asked a contact of mine, someone who specializes in photographic analysis. He said something strange." "What?" "He said the lighting on the man doesn't match the rest of the photos. He's lit as if from another source. And more than that, his shadow is always wrong." Anna felt a chill move across her skin. "What do you mean, wrong?" "Every photo. The shadow falls in the opposite direction from everyone else's. Subtle but consistent. And in one image, if you enhance the contrast, you can see that his feet, they don't quite touch the ground." The silence between them stretched. Lucas finally added, "I don't know what this is, Anna, but I don't think you're the first person to notice him. I think people have been noticing him for decades." Anna sat down, her mind racing. Could it be some elaborate art project, a psychological experiment, deep fake technology? But none of it made sense. The photos were decades apart, with provenance, aging, and materials that predated modern manipulation. Later that night, she sat alone with the original photograph again. She turned it over in her hands, staring at the man in the background. It felt like he was becoming more vivid, as if the more attention she gave him, the clearer he became. Not just in the photo, but in her thoughts. That night, she dreamed she was back in the backyard of 1985. The same balloons, the same music, everyone standing frozen in place, except for one figure, moving slowly through the guests, unseen, heading toward the camera. And just before she woke, she saw him pause behind her child self, bend down, and whisper something into her ear. She awoke, drenched in sweat, her phone buzzing with a new message from Lucas. Found another one. This time from 2008. The man's eyes in that photo were exactly the same, and now they were starting to feel familiar. The next morning, Anna didn't open her curtains. She wasn't sure why, exactly. Perhaps it was the dream, or perhaps it was the growing sense that light no longer felt safe. She sat in the half-gloom of her living room, her laptop open, surrounded by scattered printouts of photographs, most of them decades old, all of them now tainted by a single recurring presence. Lucas had compiled more: a birthday in Recife, 1972, a picnic in the hills of Minas Gerais, 1988, a family reunion in Curitiba, 2003. Each photograph bore the same aesthetic of casual memory: smiling faces, sun-washed colors, imperfect composition. And in the background, always the background, stood the same man. His posture was slightly varied, sometimes in profile, sometimes near a tree or behind a fence, but the face never changed. A high forehead, deep-set eyes, narrow jawline. The suit was always muted, brown, grey or navy, but always formal, always inappropriate for the context, and always slightly off, not quite aligned with reality. The digital folder Lucas had created was named simply The Watcher. Anna scrolled through it in silence. Dozens of photos now, each one a confirmation that this was not coincidence, not an editing trick or a shared hallucination. These were analog photographs, many scanned with imperfections intact: light leaks, scratches, ink smudges. Some came from private family albums, others from public archives. One even came from a defunct church newsletter, where the man could be seen in the far background of a children's baptism. But what unsettled her the most wasn't his appearance. It was that no one ever interacted with him. In none of the images was he ever being acknowledged. No one looked at him. No one stood beside him. No hands reaching out. No laughter shared. He was never part of the moment, just present, unspoken, uninvited. She called Lucas again. "This isn't just someone showing up at parties," she said. He's like a parasite in memory. He attaches to moments." Lucas was quiet on the other end. "I spoke to an archivist," he said finally, "someone who's been digitizing state photo collections. I sent him a few samples. He recognized the man, too." Anna's pulse quickened. From where? He wouldn't say, only that he'd seen him before, and that he stopped scanning photos after midnight now. He said the man started showing up more often when he stayed up late. Anna didn't know how to respond to that. Lucas continued, "There's something else. I isolated the coordinates from the metadata of some digitized scans, the angles of sunlight, the position of shadows. I compared them. The man's shadow never matches the environment." "You told me that already." "No," Lucas said. "Not just that. His shadow always points in the same direction. No matter where the light source is in the photo, it always falls to his left, always." Anna sat back, her throat dry. That was impossible. Unless, she didn't finish the thought. Instead, she opened one of the newer photos, taken at a wedding in 2008. It was sharp, clean, and modern. The man stood in the far background behind a glass window, his image distorted slightly by reflection, but unmistakable, watching, unblinking. She zoomed in until the pixels blurred. In that moment, Anna realized something had shifted. She was no longer afraid of the man himself. She was afraid of the space he occupied, a silent fold in reality, an observer threaded through unrelated lives, always present but never noticed. Until now. She thought of something her grandmother used to say: "If you name a thing, you give it form." And what if, Anna wondered, the opposite was also true? What if this thing, this man, had no form until someone noticed it? Lucas called again that night, his voice more tense than before. "There's a forum," he said. "Private, invite only, a kind of urban legend archive. I shared one of the photos under an alias, just to see. And they knew him. They call him the reflection that stood still. He's mentioned in dozens of threads, always with photos, different names, different languages. In French, they call him l'observateur. In Argentina, el silencioso. Someone even claimed he appears in an old Soviet-era group portrait." Anna felt her stomach knot. "But here's the thing," Lucas added. "He always appears after someone sees him for the first time. Never before." That night, Anna did not sleep. She sat in the dark, surrounded by images printed on cheap paper, spread out across her floor. Each one showed people living their lives, oblivious to the figure who shared their space for a brief moment. And each photo, it now seemed, served as a kind of seed, a portal, a point of entry. What disturbed her most wasn't that the man appeared in her past. It was the growing certainty that he would soon appear in her present. It began subtly, a flicker of movement in her peripheral vision, a reflection in the television screen that didn't align with her own. The unsettling sensation, late at night, that someone was standing just behind her, close enough to touch, but never visible when she turned. Anna dismissed the early signs as paranoia, a side effect of her growing obsession, but the feeling didn't fade. It deepened. One morning, while brushing her teeth, she glanced into the fogged mirror above the sink and froze. In the corner of the reflection, near the hallway far behind her, was a shape, a tall silhouette, too indistinct to define, but unmistakably human. She spun around. Nothing. Just the sound of the faucet dripping and her own shallow breathing. The photo now sat face down on her kitchen table, buried under mail and unopened flyers. She'd tried putting it away, but each time she did, she'd find herself retrieving it again within hours. She couldn't throw it out. She couldn't look away. It felt less like she was drawn to it, and more like it was drawing through her. Lucas stopped answering her messages. Concerned, Anna drove to his apartment in São Paulo, only to find the place empty. His mailbox was overflowing. Neighbors said they hadn't seen him in over a week. His car was still parked in the garage. Inside, the apartment was dark. The blinds were closed, and a faint metallic smell hung in the air. His laptop sat open on the coffee table, the screen filled with side-by-side photographs, dozens of them, each with the same figure, highlighted and annotated. Threads of text connected timestamps and locations. In the corner of the screen, a sticky note with Lucas's handwriting read, "He's not in the photos. He is the photo." On the desk, there was a printed screenshot of a video frame, a freeze frame from a home video, a child's birthday party, early 2000s cues, grainy handheld footage. In the background, barely noticeable, was the man, but something about the still frame was different. Anna leaned in. The man was not looking at the camera. He was looking at the camera person. At her, she stumbled back, her hands shaking. Lucas's fridge was ajar, filled with uneaten food. His bedroom was untouched. No signs of struggle, no note, no explanation, just absence. And the photo was there too, tacked to his bulletin board. Anna's birthday photo, the one she had shared online. Only now, the man was closer. He had shifted positions. He was no longer standing at the back of the yard. He was halfway across the grass. She left the apartment without taking anything, barely locking the door behind her. That night, she didn't turn on any lights. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying not to think about the sound of quiet footsteps outside her door. Just once, just a single creak, then silence. The next morning, she received an email from an untraceable address. No subject line, no message body, just one attachment, another photo. It was of a metro station, taken in 2019. A crowd waiting for a train, people scrolling on phones, checking watches. In the far background, standing at the edge of the platform, was the man. This time, he wasn't facing the camera. He was facing a little girl, about 7 years old, who stood alone by a pillar. She was looking directly into the lens. Her expression, not fear, not surprise, recognition. Anna began to feel as though the man wasn't simply appearing in moments of life. He was selecting them. Moments when people were distracted, vulnerable, open. His presence wasn't about being seen, it was about being felt. One of the forum posts Lucas had mentioned, the one calling him l'observateur, came back to her. It described a belief that certain entities feed on attention, that noticing them gives them form, and remembering them gives them reach. The man, it said, was a mirror, a vessel for something older than memory. Not a ghost, not a spirit, a placeholder. A shape that fit itself into the negative space of the human mind, never occupying, only observing. But now, the shape was growing sharper. The more Anna learned, the clearer he became, not just in photographs, but in her thoughts, in the corners of rooms, in reflections, in the silence between sentences, and always, his gaze found her. It didn't matter if she looked directly at him or not. Somehow, he saw her. And, worst of all, Anna had the growing conviction that it had never really been about the photo from 1985. It had always been about her. Anna no longer left the house. The world outside felt too fragile, too exposed. Every window seemed like a mirror, every passerby a potential witness or participant in something she no longer believed could be explained rationally. She had long stopped checking the news, the forums, even her messages. The silence had become less oppressive than the sound of unanswered questions. Her apartment was dim, walls covered in pinned photographs, printed screenshots, yellowed birthday photos, grainy video stills. Each showed people smiling, frozen mid-laughter, unaware of what or who stood quietly behind them. The man's face was circled in red ink over and over, a haunting repetition that defied time and location, and yet the images had changed. They were no longer static. One night, while reviewing an older photo, the first one from Anna's birthday party in 1985, she noticed something she couldn't explain. The man had moved again. This time, he wasn't in the backyard. He was inside the house. A pale outline of his figure could be seen in the window just behind the cake table, his gaze no longer toward the camera, but toward the child version of Anna, who sat unaware, beaming with a frosting-smeared face. The change was subtle, imperceptible unless one knew every pixel, but Anna knew. She had studied the photo endlessly. The man was moving through time, but not linearly. He wasn't bound to the image. He inhabited it, or worse, he was using it as a door, a threshold. That same week, a package arrived. No return address, no sender. Inside, a single photograph, printed on heavy paper. A new one. It was Anna's street, her building. Taken from across the avenue, as if by a distant observer, the windows of her apartment were visible. In the lower right corner, a figure stood by the entrance. His head was slightly turned, body tense as if in mid-step. She dropped the photo. It fluttered to the floor face down, revealing a handwritten note in faintly shaky script. He was never in the picture. You were. Her breath caught. Every memory she had reconsidered in recent weeks rushed back with new weight. What if the man hadn't simply appeared in photos of events? What if he had been inside the moments themselves, not as a participant but as a constant, a presence that had always been there, waiting to be perceived? What if the act of noticing was what pulled him into focus? That night, Anna heard the sound again, footsteps, not loud but deliberate, slow, measured, as if someone were pacing a circle around her apartment. The hallway light flickered. A shape passed briefly in the shadow beneath the door. She didn't call the police. She didn't scream. There was no point. She knew what was happening now. This was not about haunting or possession or madness. It was about perception, recognition. Some minds, when made to see a pattern, become trapped within it. She was no longer observing him. He was observing her. A shift had occurred, subtle, irreversible. She reached for the original photo, her fingertips trembling. It looked unchanged. The same backyard, the same guests, the same fading ink on the back. But the longer she looked, the more she noticed something impossible. There was another version of her in the image, faint, like a shadow exposed to too much light. A figure standing at the edge of the frame, older, her hair longer, her eyes wide, watching the scene, watching herself. Anna staggered back. The photo slipped from her hand and landed under the lamp. For a moment, the man's face, now impossibly close to the lens, seemed to tilt ever so slightly, like a nod, an acknowledgement, not of arrival, but of completion. The photo had changed because it was no longer just a memory. It had become a place, a trap, a recording of something outside time, absorbing observers like a mirror without reflection. She was no longer outside the story. She was in it, in the image, captured. And as the final light in her apartment flickered and died, Anna whispered to no one in particular, a phrase that had lingered in her mind since the beginning. Sometimes, the thing that watches us was never invited, but once you see it, it never leaves.